The water never argues with the rocks. It does not resist. It does not complain. It flows. It moves over, under, and around every obstacle in its path. It knows that even the hardest stone cannot stand forever against its persistence. Over time, the rock changes shape, and the water remains free. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that prosperity is like this. It flows naturally when you remove resistance, when you stop standing in its way, when you clear the inner dams you may not even realize are there. And just as water cleanses the body, it can cleanse the unseen spaces in your mind, your emotions, and your energy field, dissolving what blocks the arrival of money and opening channels for abundance to pour in. Imagine standing beside a quiet river at dawn. The mist is still hovering above the surface, and the sunlight is only beginning to touch the ripples. You hear nothing but the soft lapping of water against the bank. This is the sound of timeless movement, movement that existed before you were born and will continue long after you are gone. This is the sound of flow. And within that flow lies a message: nothing is ever truly stuck. No matter how tangled your circumstances may seem, life has a current that can carry you into a new reality. The question is not whether the current exists, but whether you have opened the channel for it to reach you. Today, I will show you how to transform a simple glass of water into a prosperity tool. Not as a superstition, not as a trick, but as a living symbol of flow and renewal. You may have water in front of you right now without realizing that it can become the very thing that shifts your financial reality. It has always been here, in your home, in your body, in the very air you breathe, waiting for you to give it direction. Because in the same way water reflects the image above it, it also reflects the vibration you place within it, the words you speak, the intentions you hold, and the emotions you infuse can transform ordinary water into a current carrying your prosperity to you. Think about the fact that water has memory. Science is only beginning to understand what spiritual traditions have taught for thousands of years, that water absorbs and stores the vibrations it encounters. In ancient cultures, water was blessed before ceremonies, used to anoint leaders, and carried from sacred springs to homes where it was kept for protection and healing. In those traditions, water was never just water. It was a living witness to the words spoken over it. Florence knew that when you speak into water with faith, you are not simply talking to liquid, you are programming a messenger. That messenger will travel into your body when you drink it, into your environment when you sprinkle it, into your field when you keep it close. Now, let's speak of the real blocks. Financial lack is rarely just about the absence of money. More often, it is about the presence of something else: fear, doubt, resentment, guilt. These are heavy sediments at the bottom of your inner stream, clouding the water and slowing the flow. They whisper that you are undeserving, that you will fail, that wealth is dangerous or corrupting. And like silt settling in a river, they can build up so gradually that you don't notice until the current is barely moving. But water teaches us that no obstruction is permanent. It finds cracks. It seeps through. It wears down even the strongest walls. With the right intention, you can let water carry away what no longer serves you. I want you to picture this moment. You stand in your kitchen, a clear glass of water in your hand. Light catches the surface, and for a second, it looks like liquid crystal. You breathe slowly. You speak into it, not loudly, not desperately, but with the steady authority of someone who knows their words matter. You say, "I release every block. I allow abundance to flow to me now." The water hears you. Yes, it hears. And when you drink, you are not only hydrating your body, you are aligning your entire being with a higher stream. Florence often said that the spiritual always precedes the material. Before money appears in your hand, it must first exist in your vibration. Before opportunity knocks, it must first be drawn toward you by the tone you hold. This is why a ritual like this works. You are not begging for prosperity. You are embodying it. You are placing its pattern into the water and letting that pattern fill you. If you are new here, I invite you to subscribe so you can walk with us as we explore the principles of Florence Scovel Shinn and put them into action in real life. And for those who have been touched by these teachings, you can now support this channel through the thanks button, which YouTube calls super thanks. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $2. Every seed is received and directed into the field of prosperity, and it will return to you multiplied. You can also become a channel member to help us continue this work and keep sharing these powerful principles with the world. And I will say this, prosperity is not about a single ritual or a single moment. It is about a relationship you build with the flow of life. It is about learning to trust the current, even when you cannot see what lies beyond the next bend. Just as rivers carve valleys over centuries, your faith and practice carve new pathways for abundance to reach you. There may be days when the flow feels slow, when the surface is still, and you wonder if anything is happening at all. But underneath, the water is moving. It is always moving. We are about to begin a journey into the heart of this practice. We will explore not just the how, but the why, the spiritual mechanics that make something as simple as water a powerful ally in your financial transformation. Once you see the connection, you will never look at a glass of water the same way again. So breathe deeply, take this moment to clear your mind, and prepare to step into the current. Let us continue. There is a story I must tell you, because it shows in living color what happens when you decide to work with the flow instead of against it. It begins with a woman named Evelyn. She was not wealthy. In fact, she was struggling in a way that felt bone deep. Bills piled up on her kitchen counter like unwelcome guests who refused to leave. The sound of her phone made her heart race, because too often it was a collector calling. She had learned to live in survival mode, always calculating, always cutting corners, always telling herself she just needed to get through one more month. And then one evening, she stumbled upon a passage from Florence Scovel Shinn's writings that said, "Your word is your wand." It wasn't just about what you said to others. It was what you spoke into the universe itself. The words you send out are seeds, and they must bring forth after their kind. Evelyn didn't have money to buy special tools. She didn't have connections, influence, or luck as the world defines it. But she had a glass of water, and she had her voice. And so she began. Each morning, before she reached for her phone, before she looked at the day's demands, she would pour herself a glass of water, hold it in her hands, and speak into it. At first, her voice trembled. "I am open to receive abundance. I drink in prosperity now." She felt foolish, but she did it anyway. She drank slowly, imagining the water carrying those words into every cell of her body. She pictured her bloodstream as a network of glowing rivers, carrying prosperity to every corner of her life. The first week, nothing seemed to happen. The bills were still there, the phone still rang. But she kept going. She spoke into the water with a little more certainty each time. She began to notice her posture changing as she held the glass. Shoulders back, chin lifted, as if her body knew it was addressing something sacred. By the third week, something shifted. A job she had applied for months earlier and forgotten about called her back. They had an unexpected opening and wanted to interview her. It wasn't just any job. It was exactly the kind of position she had once dreamed of but never thought she could get. She got the job. Her income doubled. And within 6 months, she had not only paid off her debts, but started saving. When she tells the story now, she doesn't say the water itself was magic. She says the magic was in what it became when she combined it with her words, her faith, and her willingness to keep showing up for the ritual. The water was her witness. It carried her intention into her own subconscious, day after day, until the belief that she was meant to struggle simply dissolved. She didn't just speak into the water, she spoke into her own being, and her being changed. This is the power of aligning the physical with the spiritual. A glass of water is not an expensive altar, but in its simplicity lies its strength. Florence knew that prosperity rituals do not need to be complicated. In fact, the more direct they are, the more they speak to the subconscious mind. Water is pure, receptive, and ready to take on whatever vibration you offer it. And when you drink it, you are affirming that you have already received what you asked for. You are taking prosperity into yourself, not as a wish, but as a fact. Some might wonder, isn't this just positive thinking? But it is more than that. This is the deliberate charging of a physical element with spiritual power, the way ancient priests and priestesses would bless oil, bread, or wine before offering it. The act itself creates a bridge between realms, and the longer you walk that bridge, the more solid it becomes. What begins as a fragile thought becomes a current of energy so strong that it rearranges the circumstances of your life to match it. And I want you to understand this. Your current situation is not permanent. It may feel heavy, fixed, immovable, but so did the boulders in a river before the water wore them smooth. Every glass of water you speak into is like sending another wave against those stones. Eventually, the stones give way. You do not need to know how, and you do not need to control the timing. You only need to keep the water moving. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I rarely ask for anything in return for these teachings. But if this message resonates with you, if you feel its value, you can now use the thanks button, what YouTube calls super thanks, to support the work we are doing here. Whether it's $1 or more, it is a seed you plant, not just in this channel, but in your own field of giving and receiving. And if you feel called, you can also become a channel member, which is another way to help sustain these messages so that they can reach more people who need them. We are going to go deeper into the why and the how of this water ritual, not just the physical steps, but the energetic truth that makes it so effective. I want you to feel the shift even before you see it, so that when the changes arrive, you recognize them not as coincidences, but as the direct harvest of what you have been planting. The current is already here, waiting to carry you forward. Let's step into it together. Let us continue. Before we speak of the ritual itself, I want you to understand something profound. When you hold a glass of water in your hands, you are not holding a simple drink. You are holding a living mirror to your consciousness. Water is formless by nature. It takes the shape of whatever holds it. And in the same way, your life takes the shape of whatever beliefs hold you. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn taught that every outward act should be rooted in an inward knowing. Without belief behind it, a ritual is just empty motion. But with belief, even the smallest action becomes a force that moves mountains. Think about it. How many times have you poured a glass of water without thought, without awareness, letting it be a mechanical habit? Now imagine pouring that same water with the awareness that it is about to carry your words into the deepest layers of your mind and into the invisible field where every outcome begins. This is the shift we make when we treat water not as a thing, but as a partner in creation. Picture the scene. It's early morning. The world is quiet, the air still, the light soft. The day ahead has not yet taken shape. It waits for you to decide what it will be. You walk slowly to where your water is kept. You choose your glass with care, not because the glass is magical, but because you are signaling to your subconscious that this moment matters. You pour the water slowly, listening to the steady sound of it filling the glass. Each drop becomes part of a silent agreement between you and the divine, that what you speak here will echo far beyond this moment. You wrap your hands around the glass, feeling the coolness of the water, the texture of the surface. Your palms begin to warm it slightly, and in your mind, you imagine that warmth as light moving from your skin into the water itself. You close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to open the inner vision. You see yourself living in the reality you are about to declare. You see the bills paid, the invitations accepted, the freedom to say yes without fear. You feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy, as if it has already happened. In this moment, you are not asking for something to come. You are aligning with what already belongs to you. Then you speak. Your words are not a request. They are a command issued from the highest authority, the authority of your own divine connection. Florence would say, "Speak the word, and the law will fulfill it." You choose phrases in the present tense, for the subconscious only works in the now. You might say, "I am overflowing with abundance. Money flows to me easily and in perfect ways." You might say, "I live in constant supply, and every door I need opens for me now." Your voice is steady, deliberate. You are not trying to convince anyone, you are simply declaring truth. As the words leave your mouth, Imagine them entering the water. See the sound as ripples of light moving into every molecule. You might even sense a subtle shift in the way the water feels in your hands. This is not imagination in the sense of fantasy. It is imagination in the sense of creation. Science has shown that water can form patterns based on sound and intention, and while skeptics may debate, those who practice know the results are undeniable. You are programming this water with a living code, and when you drink it, you merge that code with your body, making it a part of you in the most literal way. Now you drink, not quickly, not carelessly, but with a sense of reverence. Feel each sip entering your mouth, sliding down your throat, and moving into your bloodstream. Let the awareness follow it. I am filled with abundance. I am nourished by supply. In that moment, the ritual becomes complete. But here's the part most people forget. The moments after the ritual are just as important as the ritual itself. Once you've spoken and drunk, you must release. You don't grasp at the desire. You don't look for immediate proof. You don't keep checking the how. You go about your day as if the thing you declared is already on its way, because it is. This is the vibration of faith. Faith is not hoping, it is knowing. Florence used to say that the spoken word, once sent forth, sets in motion the very events that will bring your desire into form. Your only job is to keep your vibration aligned with the reality you have spoken. Doubt is like pouring ink into clear water. It clouds the purity of your creation. So you protect that clarity. You speak with conviction, you drink with trust, and you walk with the assurance that the law is working on your behalf. I remember a man named Samuel who had been stuck in a job for over a decade, underpaid, overworked, and constantly told that times were tough. He had resigned himself to struggle. He tried this ritual not because he believed in it, but because he felt he had nothing to lose. On the third day, something changed. As he held the glass and spoke his words, he felt an unshakable certainty rise within him, a quiet knowing that his circumstances were temporary. That afternoon, he updated his resume for the first time in years. A week later, he received a call from a friend about a position that hadn't even been posted publicly. He applied, was interviewed, and offered the job at double his previous salary. He later told me that the true miracle wasn't the job offer. It was the moment he stopped seeing himself as trapped. And that shift, he believed, began the instant he held that glass and declared his worth out loud. Your ritual can be as simple or as elaborate as you wish. You can add candles, soft music, or silence. You can stand in the sunlight or sit in the dark. You can use tap water, filtered water, or rainwater collected in a jar. None of those details matter more than the energy you bring. The ritual works because you choose to make it sacred, and the water responds to your choice. Do this in the morning to set the tone for your day, or at night to let your subconscious carry it into the dream world where creation takes root. If possible, speak your declaration aloud. Let your voice be the instrument that carries the vibration. If you must be silent, speak it in your mind, but do so with the same conviction as if you were declaring it to the whole world. The key is not the volume, it is the certainty. And remember, this is not a chore to be checked off. It is an act of devotion to yourself, an honoring of your divine right to prosper. When you hold that glass, you are holding more than water. You are holding the reflection of a life that is already yours in the unseen. Each sip is a reminder that you are not powerless, that you are not waiting for the world to change. You are shaping it from the inside out. We are not finished. There is more to uncover about why this practice bridges the gap between thought and manifestation, and why water has been revered as a sacred element in spiritual traditions for thousands of years. The surface may seem calm, but the current beneath is already moving you toward a reality richer than you've dared to imagine. Let us continue. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the truth that nothing in your outer world changes until the inner pattern shifts. And she knew that the most effective way to shift the inner pattern was not through force, not through endless striving, but through alignment. Alignment is not something you do once. It is a living state you maintain. And water, more than almost any other element, reflects back the state you are in. When you look at water, you see clarity or cloudiness, stillness or movement, reflection or distortion. In the same way, your life reflects the tone of your inner consciousness. The ritual of water for prosperity is not just about bringing money. It is about bringing your whole self into resonance with the frequency of abundance so that money has no choice but to appear. Imagine ancient temples, quiet and cool, where initiates would come to prepare for sacred ceremonies. In the center of the chamber, a basin of pure water would stand, often surrounded by symbols of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The water was not there for drinking alone. It was there to receive the spoken word, to be infused with prayer, to carry blessings. Civilizations that flourished for centuries understood that water could act as a messenger between the physical and the spiritual. When Florence wrote about the Word becoming flesh, she was echoing this same truth, that sound, thought, and intention impress themselves onto matter, and water is one of the most receptive forms of matter we know. Science, in its own language, is only beginning to catch up to this. Researchers have observed how water molecules can form intricate crystalline structures when exposed to loving words, harmonious sounds, or uplifting images, and how they become chaotic and broken when exposed to words of hate or fear. Whether you see this as spiritual truth or quantum resonance, the result is the same. Water listens, it remembers, and when you drink it, its memory becomes part of you. This is why the water ritual is so potent for prosperity. It allows you to literally ingest your declaration, to carry it in your blood, to let it feed your cells. Let me share a story that Florence herself might have delighted in. A woman named Evelyn had been in debt for years. She had read every book she could find, taken every practical step, but nothing seemed to move. Her income was steady, but small, and every time she made a little progress, an unexpected expense would knock her back. One evening she stumbled upon the idea of the water ritual. It sounded too simple to work, but something in her, perhaps that last spark of hope, said to try. She poured a glass of water, held it in both hands, and said aloud, "I am fully provided for. My debts dissolve like sugar in this water." She drank it slowly, imagining each swallow washing away the heaviness of owing. She did this every morning and night, not as a desperate plea, but as a quiet affirmation that something was already shifting. Within 6 weeks, she received a settlement from a legal matter she had long forgotten about. It was enough to clear every debt and leave her with a small cushion. But more than that, she said, the ritual had changed how she felt. Lighter, freer, as if the weight had been lifted before the money even arrived. This is the heart of the work. You are not trying to make something happen. You are aligning with the truth that it already exists for you. Water becomes your ally in this because it is the perfect conductor. It takes your words into itself, carries them into you, and reminds you throughout the day of the reality you have spoken. Florence would often say, "Do not be fooled by appearances. They are only the result of yesterday's beliefs." The water ritual is a way of planting new beliefs today, so that tomorrow's appearances can change. Now, let us talk about flow. Money, like water, must move. If it stagnates, it loses life. If you hoard it out of fear, you create a dam that blocks new inflow. But when you allow it to circulate, when you give, spend, and receive with gratitude, you keep the current alive. This is why, as part of your water ritual, it is wise to also bless the act of giving. When you take a sip, you can affirm not only that you are receiving, but that you are a joyful conduit for prosperity. Say to yourself, "As this water flows into me, so my wealth flows through me to bless others." In this way, you remove the fear of lack, because you place yourself in the role of an abundant source, not a desperate seeker. I have known people who have transformed their entire relationship with money through this one change in perspective. A man named Harold, for instance, was always anxious about spending. Even when he had enough, he lived in a constant low-level panic that it might run out. He began incorporating into his water ritual the declaration, "I release money with joy, and it returns to me multiplied." At first, it felt uncomfortable, as if he were tempting fate. But over time, the words sank in. He began to notice that every time he spent without fear, something unexpected would return to him. A refund check, a new client, a gift. The rhythm of giving and receiving became as natural to him as breathing. And the water, he said, helped him anchor this in his body, not just his mind. You see, the ritual is more than symbolic. It is somatic. You are not only thinking new thoughts, you are feeling them, speaking them, and ingesting them. This engages every level of your being, which is why it works so deeply. When your mind, your words, your emotions, and your body are all saying the same thing, the universe responds swiftly. Florence called this speaking the word and acting as if. The water ritual is a way of acting as if, in a form so tangible that even the most skeptical part of you can participate. And here is something important. Consistency builds power. You would not expect to plant a seed and see a tree the next morning, yet many abandon their declarations after only a few days, claiming it didn't work. But every sip, every spoken word is another seed. Some sprout quickly, others take time, but all respond to the care you give them. When you treat this as a sacred appointment with yourself, a daily meeting with your own highest truth, you will find that the energy builds. There will be mornings when you feel a sudden surge of certainty, afternoons when a small sign appears, evenings when gratitude rises unbidden. These are not accidents. They are evidence that the law is in motion. Florence believed that gratitude was the bridge between the invisible and the visible. So as you finish your water each time, let your last thought be one of thanks. Not thanks that it will happen, but thanks that it has already happened in the unseen. This seals the vibration and sends it out with clarity. The clearer the signal, the faster the return. When you understand this, you no longer perform the ritual out of need. You perform it out of joy. You look forward to it the way one looks forward to greeting a beloved friend. The glass becomes a symbol of partnership between you and the divine, a reminder that you are never alone in your creation. And as the days pass, you will notice that the changes come not only in your bank account, but in your heart. You will find yourself saying yes more often, standing taller, meeting life with open hands instead of clenched fists. This, my friend, is the true prosperity Florence spoke of. Not just money, but the freedom to live without fear. And as you continue, something else happens. Others will notice. They may not understand the ritual, but they will see the light in your eyes, the calm in your voice, the ease in your movements. They will ask what you've been doing, and you can choose to share or simply smile, knowing that your life has become the proof. Because in the end, the water ritual is not about convincing anyone. It is about embodying the truth until it speaks for itself through every part of you. We will go deeper still into how this practice dismantles the oldest patterns of lack and replaces them with patterns of abundance, so natural they feel like they've always been there. But first, take a moment now, right now, to remember the last time you felt completely provided for. Hold that memory gently and know that what you are calling in with this ritual is not a new miracle. It is the return to a state you were always meant to live in. There is a truth that Florence Scovel Shinn wove into every teaching. The outer circumstances you face are nothing more than the crystallized patterns of past thought and feeling. They are echoes, not origins. To change them, you must go to the wellspring, to the point before form takes shape. This is why the water ritual holds such potency. Water itself is formless until it takes on the shape of its container, just as the raw substance of life is formless until your consciousness shapes it. And when you speak over water, when you impress upon it the vibration of abundance, you are shaping the invisible before it becomes visible. Think for a moment about the nature of a block. It is not truly solid. It is an energy, a belief, a repeated agreement you made with limitation. Most people have no idea they made such agreements. They inherited them in childhood, absorbed them from their culture, or adopted them through moments of pain. These agreements then become the architecture of their lives. The most dangerous ones are not even spoken aloud. They live in the subconscious, quietly directing every decision, every reaction, every expectation. Florence called them false pictures in the subconscious mind. They operate like a current beneath the surface, pulling you toward lack even when you consciously row toward prosperity. When you bring water into the equation, something extraordinary happens. You are using a living element that is itself constantly in motion, never fixed, never stagnant unless trapped. It can erode stone, carve valleys, and carry whole ships. It responds to the slightest vibration. This makes it the perfect ally for dissolving those invisible agreements. You can speak into the water the truth you wish to live, and as you drink it, you are symbolically and physically washing the old pictures away. Every swallow becomes an act of release. Every sip, a cleansing wave that erases the hidden contracts with poverty. Let us go deeper into the practice. Before you begin, understand that you are not asking for something to happen. You are commanding the law to reveal what already is. Florence said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. If you keep seeing yourself as blocked, struggling, or barely getting by, then that is what you will receive. But if you can see yourself as already prosperous, already free, already standing in the middle of your answered prayer, the law has no choice but to make it so. This is the frequency you infuse into the water." I recall the story of a man named Arthur, who carried the belief that money only came through hard struggle. His father had repeated it to him for years, and it had settled deep into his bones. No matter how much he earned, the money always came with exhaustion, stress, and a sense of barely surviving. When he learned of the water ritual, he approached it with skepticism, but also with a quiet desperation for change. He began by holding a glass of water each morning, speaking into it. "Money flows to me easily, in perfect ways, without toil." He drank it slowly, letting the words sink in like seeds into fertile soil. At first, nothing seemed to happen, except that he noticed he was less tense during his workday. Then an unexpected opportunity arose, a freelance project that paid more in 1 month than his main job paid in 3. The work was enjoyable, almost effortless. More offers followed, each one smoother than the last. Arthur said later that the ritual had not just changed his income, it had broken the link between money and suffering in his mind. This is the alchemy of the practice. Water carries your declaration past the critical mind, directly into the deep layers where those old agreements live. And because you repeat it daily, you are constantly replacing the old pattern with the new. The subconscious does not resist repetition, it absorbs it. This is why negative beliefs take root so easily when repeated over years, and why positive, empowered beliefs can replace them if you are consistent. Every glass of water becomes both a baptism and a reprogramming. In time, you will notice the blocks beginning to dissolve, sometimes in ways you could not have planned. You might find debts suddenly reduced or cleared. You might encounter someone who offers you an opportunity that had seemed out of reach. Or you might simply find yourself saying yes to things you would have once refused out of fear. This is not magic in the sense of breaking natural law. It is magic in the sense of working with the law consciously instead of unconsciously against it. And as the blocks dissolve, something else happens. The flow increases. Money, ideas, connections, and opportunities begin to circulate more freely in your life. You no longer have to push so hard. This is the stage where many people feel a strange unease, because they are not used to ease. Do not let that unease pull you back into old habits. When you notice things getting easier, bless the ease. Speak over your water. Ease is my natural state. I am safe in abundance. This will anchor the new reality until it becomes second nature. Florence often reminded her students that the universe loves order, and part of order is flow. Water that moves stays fresh. Water that stagnates becomes foul. So too with money. If you have been holding on tightly out of fear, let the water ritual teach your body the feeling of release. As you drink, imagine that you are not just taking in abundance, you are allowing it to pass through you, to circulate, to multiply. When you release money with joy, you prove to the law that you trust its return, and the law answers in kind. It is also important to note that this ritual is not confined to a single moment in the day. You can carry its essence with you everywhere. Every time you drink water, you can silently affirm your truth. Even a quick sip at your desk or in the kitchen can become a moment of alignment. In this way, the ritual ceases to be a task and becomes a lifestyle, a constant, gentle reminder that you are the architect of your own prosperity. Some may ask, is it really the water that does this? The answer is that the water is a partner, not a servant. It is the carrier of your word, the mirror of your intention, the medium that helps your body and mind agree. Florence said that every thought is a seed and every word a blueprint. The water gives those seeds a fertile place to take root and a current to carry them into manifestation. And there will be days when you feel tired, when the old doubts rise, when you wonder if any of this is doing anything. Those are the most important days to continue. Think of a stream wearing down a rock. It does not happen in one rush of water, but in countless small touches, each one seeming insignificant until the stone finally gives way. Your prosperity may be one sip away from breaking through the last layer of resistance. So, each time you lift that glass, know that you are not simply drinking, you are participating in an ancient covenant between the human and the divine, between thought and form, between desire and fulfillment. The water hears you. The law hears you. And soon, the world will see what you have been speaking all along. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the necessity to seal the work once it has been done. To her, it was not enough to simply declare abundance or to visualize wealth. There had to be a spiritual act that anchored the new state so deeply that nothing could uproot it. The water ritual becomes, in this sense, both the planting and the sealing. Planting, because with each declaration over the water, you are placing a living seed of truth into the fertile field of your subconscious. Sealing, because when you drink it with awareness, you are bringing that truth into the very cells of your body, leaving no part of you untouched by the vibration of prosperity. Imagine your life as a vessel, an intricate jar that has been filled over the years with many kinds of waters. Some are clear and fresh, representing moments of joy, freedom, and ease. Others are murky, representing moments of fear, shame, and struggle. For most people, this vessel holds a mixture, and the taste of it is inconsistent. When you begin the water ritual with conscious intention, you are pouring out the old, stagnant waters and filling your vessel with a steady, pure current of abundance. And each day that you repeat it, the clarity grows. The taste of your inner life changes. You no longer sip from the bitter cup of lack. You drink deeply from the river of provision. This sealing process is not passive. It requires a deliberate act of agreement. Agreement, in spiritual law, is powerful. Florence taught that you cannot be robbed of that which is yours by divine right, but you can refuse to agree with it and thus block it. Many people unconsciously agree with lack by speaking words of limitation, or by reacting in fear when faced with financial choices. The water ritual trains you to break those agreements with lack and to renew your covenant with plenty. Each sip becomes a vow. I agree with abundance. I agree with ease. I agree with the open flow of wealth. One of the most profound aspects of this work is how it changes the way you feel about receiving. For those who have struggled for years, receiving can be uncomfortable. They may secretly feel unworthy, guilty, or fearful that the blessing will be taken away. This is why so many people sabotage their own breakthroughs. They have not yet sealed the belief that abundance is safe. When you drink water infused with the vibration of prosperity, you are not only affirming that wealth comes easily, you are teaching your body that it is safe to hold it, safe to keep it, safe to let it grow. There was a woman named Elise, a single mother who had spent years living paycheck to paycheck. Even when unexpected money came, a tax refund, a gift, a bonus, she would find herself spending it quickly, almost frantically, as if she could not bear to